Good morning, everybody. Once again, my name is Boulevard, and this is a VOD review of the Snap Clash Streamer Invitational that happened over the weekend. It looks like this time we've got Drewberry versus Salami. Again, I've never heard of either of these players, but it looks like we've got not quite a mirror match. It looks like ongoing from Drewberry and then Red Skull from Salami. I said it yesterday, I'll say it again. I think Red Skull is the deck that I thought was like the best positioned after the Zabu Silver Surfer nerfs, and it performed very well yesterday, so I'm looking forward to it doing that again. Meanwhile, ongoing is a deck that I've had an iffy relationship with. It feels like a decent budget option, but I don't know if it has the consistency to hold up to the power of something like Red Skull. This feels like a lopsided matchup from the get-go here for Drewberry. But who knows? Maybe I'll be wrong. I'm kind of curious if the Wong can add anything to this. But even if you Wong Mystique, and I think Mystique is on reveal, so I guess you'll have triple. You'll like get 4 of your on reveal abilities. Is that how that works? Hopefully it comes up at some point, but it's still like +8 power to the board. And how much can you really set up if you're going Wong on 4, Mystique on 5? It looks like we'll be able to get a decent setup actually. Like Lizard, Mojo, Goose is probably as good as you could have hoped for that. But yeah, I don't really see it holding up to Red Skull Red Skull Taskmaster when all is said and done. Oh, it's actually going to be Dr. Octopus. Oh, that's Doc Ock's on the left. Oh, this is horrendous. Okay, this is just we're going to lose our entire oh, and we Mystique Goose, which means oh no. And Spectrum went first. Okay, that's a wrap. Okay, Jesus. Wasn't even looking at Salami's hand. I was too focused on what Drewberry was doing, who yeah, can't add any additional power to Oscorp Tower. Or not Oscorp Tower, sorry. Oh, yeah, no, there's 2 Oscorp Towers. The left Oscorp Tower, rather, and then Washington, D.C. All Salami has to do is play 1 card there. Yeah, okay, so Drewberry has actually already hit the retreat later button. What a game 1. What a game. That was completely lopsided, but it's only going to be for 1 cube. So really not the end of the world. But man, that Doc Ock is going to make it really rough for Drewberry in the future. That was even like the proper ordering you wanted off the Doc Ock, right? Where the Spectrum comes in, followed by the Cosmo. But yeah, got to get that Goose down a little bit earlier, I would say, is going to be the priority from Drewberry here on out. And unfortunately does not find Goose in the opener. Oh, Limbo's always a really interesting... Okay, no, never mind. We've got Goose in the opener. Meanwhile, Limbo's really interesting. The one note, like, main difference that I've noticed between tournament and ladder play so far in Marvel Snap, really just based off of yesterday with Group A and B and then coming into today, is a higher presence of Scarlet Witch. You know, going into this 10-cube slogfest, you want a little bit more control over games where you kind of just get, like, location fucked. And here, you know, it's always cool to just, like, destroy Limbo on turn 6 and sort of abruptly end the game where your opponent didn't expect, but you might have to get rid of... Do you have to get rid of Onslaught Citadel? The only real threat, I would say, is going to be cards that affect other locations, like Wong and I guess Omega Red as well, are really the only things you care about if you're Salami in the Onslaught Citadel, because you're just not going to fight over that location. Okay, yeah, Ant-Man's here, Mojo's here. Yeah, I'm just not going to fight you for this one. But Omega Red being there could be a little bit of an issue, but actually going to Icebox it. Also, Icebox hit Armor and Doc Ock, so we're not going to get a repeat of the Doc Ock, but I mean, Salami still just does have Red Skull Taskmaster. Titania to... Oh, man. This is actually really nice because it's just going to force Drewberry to recommit to the Onslaught Citadel. Meanwhile, Salami's going left and right with the Red Skull Taskmaster, and it's probably... Is that going to be enough? Drewberry gets to get down either Lizard and Cosmo or Lizard and Armor. I don't think Omega Red is proccing, but if you can, like... Ooh. Cosmo on Limbo is actually really important here because it denies the Taskmaster. But Okay, so Drewberry seems a little bit forced into Spectrum on Icebox, which won't win the location, but will flip Onslaught Citadel. So, assuming Drewberry goes Spectrum on Icebox, we're looking at winning Onslaught Citadel with 11. We're looking at 13 on, or 12 on Limbo, rather. Which means... Oh, there is a turn 7, though. I actually forgot about Limbo. Like, this whole time, I just... Oh, man. Oh, a little unfortunate that... I guess it doesn't really matter, but it is kind of worth pointing out that the way that Drewberry ordered last turn was Cosmo into Lizard, so if Mystique came down first, it would copy Lizard instead of Cosmo. Okay, just going to Taskmaster the Icebox location. Sunspot to secure the Citadel, but... Or at least attempt to, but yeah. Now that Mystique is revealed, we're going to see a much higher power level than Onslaught Citadel. No, we're not, actually. It's really just Ant-Man, huh? Holy crap. But at the end of the day, Spectrum does still add 8 power there. Yeah, I don't think Salami can actually swing this one back around. Arrow isn't doing anything. You have to be aware of the Spectrum. At this stage of the game, you know, there's only... What, 1 card left in your opponent's deck? 2 cards left in your opponent's deck? So, you have to be very cognizant of the fact that they have Spectrum. And you saw it last game, right? You pulled it in with Dr. Octopus, so Salami's pretty aware of the 12 cards that Drewberry is playing at this point. Meanwhile, I think Drewberry... There are still a few tricks up Salami's sleeve. The Scarlet Witch hasn't been shown yet. The Arrow hasn't been shown yet. And there's a couple different variations of these Red Skull Taskmaster builds, so... You know, it's not necessarily completely open information, but you do have it whittled down to, like, you know, probably 16 cards that it could be. But yeah, Salami just going to go for the retreat there. Makes sense. It was a really good Cosmo play on the side of Drewberry. Especially because Salami couldn't really bluff Arnim Zola, because Lizard was already at the location. Of course, it's always kind of funny, because you could still just take the 50-50, and if you win that, maybe you win the game. But I don't know if that's really worth, like, 4 cubes at that stage of the game. I don't even know if it would have won, actually, but just kind of throwing hypotheticals out there. +1 energy. Salami could get cheeky with Polaris on Oscorp Tower if they just kind of want to, like, deny the Ant-Man, but I don't really think that's the best idea in the world. I don't think Ant-Man's that pivotal to the strategy of Drewberry. Okay, we are going to pull the Ant-Man a little ways away, though. Sort of deny the setup of Drewberry while getting online ourselves. Okay, Warrior Falls is really, really good for Salami. Ant-Man's going down. Nothing you can do about it. Goose. You can't get down at Oscorp Tower this... Well, actually, yeah, you could get it down at Oscorp Tower this turn because, you know, you don't really care whose side of the battlefield Goose is on. You just kind of care... Oh, it looks like the stream froze. You don't really care who's got the Goose, right? You just care that your opponent can't play the 4/5/6 cost there. And with Goose locking down Oscorp Tower and Cosmo locking down Tinkerer's Workshop and Warrior Falls kind of being kind of locked down by sort of the ability that just that you don't want to put too many cards there, things looking pretty strong for Drewberry already. I was critical of the ongoing deck very early on, and I'm still not feeling super confident about it, given that when we do look at the economy of the board, the tempo sort of, Drewberry only has 1 card in play, and this is a deck that does require a little bit of setup. Our hand is very expensive on the side of Drewberry. Meanwhile, Salami, you know, while they're not going for a big Red Skull Taskmaster or Arnim Zola play this game, I think that they are still just in a fine spot. Doc Ock on Warrior Falls from Salami. Blue Marvel into the center. And yeah, so Mystique is going down here. And because of the reveal... Oh, wow. Okay, we got the Wong onto the Spectrum. We got Wong into Mystique on the Spectrum. Oh, and no, Mystique copied Armor because it's play. Oh my gosh, that's disastrous for Salami. That could not... Holy moly. All of a sudden, Salami's not winning any location. Still can't play things at Goose. No ETBs on Tinker's Workshop. Already losing Warrior Falls. Yeah, Salami's deck isn't really equipped to swing back multiple locations like this. What an absolute disaster. That looked so good, and now it's just an absolute disaster. The timing on that, holy moly. I love the early days of card game tournaments where you're going to get like that sort of one high roll clip that's going to get passed around a lot. That is what that was. That was incredible. You know, I'm starting to really think that Salami just does not play Arnim Zola. We still... Okay, we get a snap for the Onslaught Citadel. So far, we're in game 4, and we've been playing 1-cubers this whole time. And Drewberry has Cosmo and Goose in the opener again. Salami just gonna retreat. Yeah, I thought that this would, I thought Salami's deck would be favored, but I thought we were looking more at, like, you know, Typhoid Mary, like, Shuri into Typhoid Mary with Red Skull, Taskmaster, Arnim Zola sort of as, like, your big top end, but instead Salami seems to have a bit more of an early game. Onslaught Citadel for the 3rd game this series, and we get an instant snap again from Drewberry. I don't know why I called them Drewberry every other time than Drewberry this time, but looking at the opener, Zabu, a really good throwdown for the Onslaught Citadel. You could even put the Wong next to it on the following turn. No ETBs to double up at the moment, but, you know, Spectrum will come out then. Yeah, we're just going to see an auto retreat from Salami again as Onslaught Citadel comes in at number 1. And that's something I've been wondering a lot about in tournaments where on ladder, if your opponent snaps on turn 1, in a lot of situations, it's like the correct play to just leave. But in tournament, you can only do that so many times before it really starts to catch up to you. This is the first time we've actually seen the wave out of Salami as well. Oh, because it was given by the hub. That makes sense. Okay, never mind. Looks like... Oh, yeah, that's going to be a snap from Drewberry, so we're goosing up 2 locations. This does feel like a complete mismatch, sort of, where, like, I thought Salami's build would be favored, but I thought Salami's build was quite different. And then the goose is just doing a disgusting amount of work right now. And even... Oh, that's... Nope, District X. Okay, I was like, I don't think Agent Coulson goes in this deck, but yeah, District X makes sense. So, like... The one game that Salami finally gets to play after 2 Onslaught Citadels in a row is a District X game. They've got the Red Skull in hand, but they don't have Taskmaster. Drewberry, on the other hand, missing quite a lot of important tools. There's no Blue Marvel, there's no Spectrum. It's really just like Wong and Mystique. But so far, we haven't gotten any impressive Wong targets. And now all 3 locations are effectively locked under Goose. And Agent Coulson obviously going to give a 4 and a 5 drop. No draw from Salami because the hand is full. Still got Lizard, Scarlet Witch, and Wave as playable cards. But with Drewberry picking up Brood as well as Lizard, that's just a pretty strong amount of, you know, playable cards. But I think Salami's still in the driver's seat here, given the double sunspot. Like, if Salami just passes the next 3 turns, we're looking at an additional, what, 15 power onto the sunspots? I don't think Drewberry is getting over that, given that even if they had Spectrum, they wouldn't be able to play it. Scarlet Witch onto the Sinister London. It's going to be Collapsed Mine instead. And that's actually going to fill the location. Yeah, it's looking like Salami's in the driver's seat here. We got to see what other cards come out, but I think the double sunspot is just going to be enough to lock this one down and secure it. even if there was a Shang-Chi, I don't know how to pronounce it. I watched the movie. I think they said Shang-Chi, but everyone I hear says Shang-Chi. I'm going to have to learn a lot of pronunciations if I'm going to cast Snap, but even if there was a Shang-Chi District X'd into Drewberry's deck, it's unplayable because of the gooses. So yeah, we're just going to Brood, Yondu, Salami. Looks like they've just kind of already passed for the turn. They could wave. Just make it really awkward for their opponent next turn. And this will still add, in total, 8 power to the sunspots, which I would imagine is going to be enough. Yeah, I like the wave reinforcing the sunspot. Obviously, it's still mana efficient in terms of, like, you're trading 3 mana for 3 power, but because you have double sunspot... Oh, we're going to throw out Lizard as well. I don't see the point in fighting over the hub. I don't mind it on District X. We're getting a snap back from Salami as well. It's a max of 5 Qs because that's all Salami's got left. Drewberry. Okay, Drewberry not going to retreat. Why do I keep saying Drewberry? It's Drewberry. That just spelled like the word berry. I guess we're just going to see what the last top deck is. It is... it is Shang-Chi. But it wouldn't matter anyways. The sunspots are still sitting at 4. And now, suddenly, Salami's actually taking the lead. The District X game is all it took to get Salami back to all tied up. But once we get into a more normal game of Marvel Snap here, Drewberry definitely still feels favored. As we see Cosmo in the opener yet again, all it takes is an early goose. Ooh, Subterranea. Not ideal, though. Those rocks are not particularly useful for either player. Getting a sunspot down early for Salami is certainly ideal. Hub going to give us Magneto and Sentinel. Still. No goose out of Drewberry in these high-stake games might be the difference maker. The one time that you don't find it is when you're playing for the most cubes. And a snap from either player would be the end of the series if Drewberry loses. Going after the Hala location. I like playing aggressively on Hala. Although risking your Cosmo for it, especially given that this isn't like a turn 4, yeah, I don't think you played anything here, surprise, here's my Cosmo. It's a little wild. Salami thinking about also playing for Hala, or just getting the rock out of their hand. I don't know the purpose of playing the rock, given that you have a sunspot in play. Okay. Side against the 0 rock play. Things still looking awkward. 0 lizard isn't bad, but... yeah. Take that back a little bit. I think Drewberry, you know, having the Cosmo on Hala, pretty likely to play into it. You know that it's not going to be an armor drop because armor's already center location at the hub. 8 power... pretty reasonable to assume that there's not much Hala can do to get around that. It would have to be Lizard and something. Or, yeah, Omega Red's just going to tie it. So no card's going to be destroyed from either player here. Sunspot continuing to tick up and take over Subterrera. And now... it's the Arrow turn. Gonna arrow to the losing location, pretty standard play. And that's just gonna pull in Wong and Ant-Man. So priority lies with Salami. So yeah, Magneto onto Subterranea is gonna pull Wong and Cosmo. And that's still going to be a winning line against the Spectrum center. It'll actually, yeah. So if the play from Drewberry is Spectrum into center, Magneto should be the win here, as Omega Red will be alone on Hala, go up to 7. Doesn't contest the Zero Lizard. And if this goes through to fruition, then Drewberry is eliminated from the tournament here. It looks like Drewberry has locked it in. Salami's the one that's still thinking about it. Taskmaster is only 7 power, so really not the most appealing play in the world. I think it's got to be the Magneto. Plus, you know that your opponent wants to go Wong Spectrum here, so I think Salami is still just running the math on whether or not Magneto will actually win the game. And somebody snapped. Were they not already playing for 4 on the final? I don't know. Anyway, yeah, so let's see if I did this math right. Oh, it's going to pull Omega Red as well. I forgot Omega Red's a 4-drop. Okay, that makes this even easier. Wait, does it? Okay, yeah. Close, but you win Hala and you win the left. So, Salami takes out Drewberry. Heading into match number 2 of Group C, we've got Jesse... Is that Jesse? Or is it Geese James? We're just going to say James versus Kawa. Looks like we might have a bit of a mirror match here, which I think is the first mirror match we've seen all tournament. The builds are probably a little different. Isle of Science and Savage Land, so that is a main deck Juggernaut out of Kawa, which is something that I have not seen in the Arnim Zola builds before. Vision, I don't think I've seen Vision. I don't hate Vision. I just don't think I've seen it in these decks previously. It looks like Sauron out of James does mean that this is going to be on the Ebony Maw build. One of my friends actually just pointed out to me that during the VOD review for day 1, I kept calling Ebony Maw Ebony Man. And honestly, I thought that card was called Ebony Man. The way that the text looks out, I thought that W was an N. And nobody has corrected me for the last month and a half that I've been calling it Ebony Man. So I'm probably still going to accidentally call it Ebony Man for the near future, but eventually I will get the name correct and call it Ebony Maw. Speaking of getting things correct, it looks like Kawa has the Red Skull Arnim Zola with Shuri line, which does mean Kawa is in a very strong position with this arrow. Or James, rather, is in a strong position with the arrow, as they are going to have priority. Oh, but they're reading Taskmaster. This is why I think this deck is so strong, is because even when you have the turn 6 arrow, the question is, are you playing around Arnim Zola or are you playing around Taskmaster? And James has committed to playing around the Taskmaster, and it is going to be the Arnim Zola. Okay, gonna undo from James. Still committing the same line of plays. Just rethinking it for a second there. Meanwhile, Kawa thinking, do I really want to Arnim Zola this? I'm not sure what your other line of play would be. You do still look like you have a fighting chance at Savage Land. No, but it is going to be Arnim Zola, and yeah, that is going to be just an unfortunate read on the side of James. It's just a 50-50. And yeah, that's going to be 30 power to each of those locations. It's barely a win on Savage Land. I say barely, it's like 7 power, but yeah, game 1 going to Kawa. And that's something we're going to have to see repeated, not only throughout this tournament, but likely in a lot of Marvel Snap tournaments for the near future, is just, is Arrow realistically an effective tool against this deck? Because it could be Taskmaster, it could be Arnim Zola, you have no way of knowing. Although we haven't seen Arnim Zola or Taskmaster rather, in Kawa's deck yet. Granted, it's only game 1. I'm sure that it's in there. I'd be very surprised to find out it's not. But maybe that's what the vision is. Who knows? Not me. It is always weird to look at Marvel Snap and understand that, sometimes the players just actually don't have the card. Even content creators, even streamers. Oh, wow, we're getting an aggressive snap out of somebody here. Looks like Kawa went for the snap and James just going to take a retreat. Not too happy with the opener. Kawa feeling confident with Shuri Vision. All right. Getting a quick set here. Still no confirmation on whether or not there's a Taskmaster in Kawa's deck. There's the Ebony Maw. I really like the Sauron Viper Ebony Maw armor sort of early game here. I'm very curious about the Juggernaut. I haven't seen that in these lists before. Dr. Octopus also seems like an optional card. James electing for it. Kawa, I don't believe we've seen it yet. I gotta say, Kawa is definitely more on the build that I would be on. James seems... I don't want to say James seems a little more teched out, because while Shang-Chi is a little techy, so is Juggernaut, so both players kind of have their preference on that. And this is the last turn to play Ebony Maw if they want to get it down. James has the opportunity to play it, but could wait on Sauron. You don't really have a great Ebony Maw location. Oh, we get a snap. Okay, I think James is looking okay here. Because both players are going for Shuri on 4. Right? Kawa plays Red Skull. James plays Doc Ock. I guess the question is going to come down to, can James reclaim Xander on turn 6? Oh, we're actually just going to Shuri the Xander. Is this where we're going to Doc Ock? No. We want to get every card out of... Well, I guess you don't know where... Because you know that Red Skull is coming down now. So if you really want to get Doc Ock value, you just have to Doc Ock the location that Kawa's not going for. And I guess with Shuri coming down at Onslaught Citadel rather than New York, you're at least pretty sure that this is not going to be an Arnim Zola game. So we Doc Ock the Onslaught Citadel, we get everything out of the hand. It's Typhoid Mary, Zero, blanking out, Juggernaut. Oh, Zero is only on play. Okay. Oof. Pushing everything to Xander. But we can move everything back to New York. But even moving everything to New York, it's only 24 plus 4. It's 28 power. It's 1 shy. Yeah, Shang-Chi onto Onslaught Citadel. Actually, no, it doesn't do it because getting rid of Typhoid Mary will get rid of the -1 that's spread across the board. So add quite a bit more power back to the Citadel. But you are winning Xander. It looks like Kawa was trying to figure out if they could move Ebony Man and then play Vision at Xander, but not quite working out that way. Looking to retreat, actually, instead of playing for the 7 cubes. I think Kawa had a win there, but probably only if you're expecting Shang-Chi. You know, like 0 Red Skull on the center probably still beats you, so I think it's a reasonable retreat there on the side of Kawa, who I'm becoming more and more convinced just does not play Taskmaster. Meanwhile, on the side of James, I don't really love She-Hulk in this deck. I don't really love Dr. Octopus in this deck either. I'm a much bigger fan of I guess the more traditional build is, at least the build that I see more often. It feels weird to call it traditional just based off of my own experience, but ooh, getting Zero down onto the Sanctum Sanctorum. Not too shabby here. Oh, this is really awkward. This is so awkward for James in that Arrow is effectively shut out this game because you can't Arrow on Nowhere or Sanctum Sanctorum. We're just going to see a retreat out of James. Yeah, understanding that, like, we snapped. That probably means, you know... It's kind of weird, though, because, like, you can't actually Shuri, Red Skull, Arnim Zola either without taking a 50-50 on the Arnim Zola because of the locations. That was a bit of a strange game, and I think that's one of the like weird parts about casting and reviewing Marvel Snap is, especially if you're just not going to pause the VOD like I'm not, then kind of gathering all of the information about the locations and what the players are reading, gonna have to get a little bit faster on the draw there. In the last game that I came from, players usually gave a lot more time than they needed to things, so you had plenty of time as a reviewer to kind of take in all the information, but Snap players, they are quick with it, man. Let's see what the last location is. Washington, D.C. Not irrelevant, given the presence of Sauron and Zero in these lists. You actually can get a buff onto something. We're going to see Sauron out of James, which means Ebony Maw will be 10 power at Washington, D.C. Sauron from Kawa as well. Okay, this is where the lack of Taskmaster is going to come in big, but I don't know if James has seen enough of Kawa's deck to confirm that they're not running Taskmaster, because now we might actually get to see Arrow do what Arrow is supposed to do. Oh, but maybe not, because Kawa's actually looking to have priority, which is a little unusual for these decks. Usually you're not winning a second location by the time your Red Skull comes down. Arrowing to Washington, D.C. is the last place I expected the arrow to go to. Because if you arrow the Red Skull to DC, then Kawa still has priority on the next turn. What am I missing here? Both the players seem to think that Red Skull does not want to be at Washington, D.C. Is it because of Shang-Chi on... Okay, I think it's because of Shang-Chi on Kamar Taj as the play around for Arnim Zola. So now that Vision has been put up at Washington, D.C. Oh, also Arrow's just going to be 28 power. Yeah. Forgot about that one. This is a weird game, man. So now it comes down to... James is flipping second. Gonna Shang-Chi the Kamar Taj to play around Arnim Zola. Both players going for Ebony Maw at Washington, D.C. It really comes down to, does James know about the draw? There's also just a Taskmaster in James's hand if they want to try to contest Moore Island, or even just Washington, D.C. But they seem... Actually, no. James has already locked in the Shang-Chi on Kamar Taj. And Kawa seems extremely aware that that is what James wants to be doing. So it's going to be Typhoid Mary to back up Washington, D.C. And then Zero onto Moore Island. That's a win for Kawa. Very well played. Very aware that the Shang-Chi was coming down, which I don't even know if Kawa's seen the Shang-Chi yet. But a very well-deserved win there. That was very, very well played by Kawa. And now James down to just 2 cubes. I am still a little confused at the lack of Taskmaster, but I think that's the last time I'm going to bring it up because it very well could just be Kawa does not own Taskmaster. Which is the conclusion I'm coming to more and more. But now we're down to the wire. James left on 2 cubes. Every game from here on out going to be a 2-cuber. Arrow in the opener for James, so we are at least going to be able to play around the Red Skull Arnim Zola plays. Danger Room sort of taken offline. And X Mansion is really not what you want to see for... Ooh, Arnim Zola actually just completely shut out at this point because of X Mansion and miniaturized labs. So not great locations for Kawa. Sauron going to take out all of the ongoings. And then we get Ant-Man versus Super Skrull. Super Skrull... I thought Super Skrull copied the ongoings of all enemies. Am I thinking of a different card? Gotta look it up. Super Skrull Snap. Oh yeah, has the ongoing effects of all enemy cards. So I guess it's just not showing the armor animation, but it is there. Which actually, funny enough, means that like Shang-Chi is really just kind of offline this game. Looks like we're going for Taskmaster versus Typhoid Mary. Or Red Skull, rather, versus Typhoid Mary, which is funny because Super Skrull... Oh, man. Unfortunately for James, Super Skrull going to copy the Red Skull and just give a lot of power back, but... Shuri onto Typhoid Mary. I think that Kawa's still winning this location because of the... Oh, that's Dr. Octopus. Vision in play is huge. Arnim Zola. Yeah, okay, so the armor is functioning. And then Red Skull. Why is... Oh, is Super Skrull an on-reveal ability to gain all ongoing effects? I thought it was like an ongoing. So it's actually not going to... Oh, no, okay, Red Skull is just blanked out by 0. Never mind. Which actually means any card at this location would then trigger the Ant-Man passive. Looks like we're just going 20 power into Danger Room and then Ebony Maw over at the X-Mansion. Meanwhile, Vision going to move over to the miniaturized lab and then Juggernaut onto the X-Mansion. Juggernaut onto X-Mansion. You still lose this location then, right? Yeah, I was pretty sure if you Juggernaut X-Mansion, you just lose to the Dr. Octopus, the Skrull, and the Shuri. So that seemed a little odd. Oh, there's a Taskmaster in Kawa's deck. Where'd that come from? So I feel like I got pretty lost that game. Okay, yeah, okay, never mind. Kawa does play Taskmaster, it just didn't show up in the first 5 games or whatever. But we've got Sunspot online early for James. Oscorp Tower. Thank goodness you didn't put anything there. This could just be Lizard and Ebony Maw onto Kin. 12 power is probably too much for Sunspot to solo. But I imagine James probably going to throw the Ebony Maw onto Kiln as well. Unless Kawa really wants to go for a Juggernaut. Maybe it's a Sauron line. Turn off the Maw, play the Maw on 4 with Juggernaut somewhere else. Oh, Gamma Lab, though. Opening things up quite a... Oh, James the cheeky Oscorp Tower. Swap of the Ebony Maw. I'm still waking up here, folks. I do apologize for missing that one. But now we've got Hulk. Which, you know, not as threatening as it might seem, given that we know James runs Shang-Chi. Don't think they really expected to get locked out of Oscorp Tower. I'm a little surprised to see neither of these players on Viper. I do think that yesterday when we saw this deck playing, you know, like the turn 3 Ebony Maw Viper combo, I thought that was very strong. And now getting the swap on Oscorp Tower, obviously pretty good, but felt like we could have seen more out of it. Kawa's really loading up on the center, or on the Kiln, going for Juggernaut and Ebony Maw. Looks like they might be trying to set up for I mean, I guess it's just going to be Red Skull Arnim Zola onto Gamma Lab. And, you know, if you hit Hulk, fine. If you hit Red Skull, fine. Meanwhile, what do we got here for James? No arrow. Oh, we're just going to Doc... Ooh. Doc Ocking the Gamma Lab. Arnim Zola in hand. It's really... So this is interesting because I don't think there's a good way for Doc Ock to actually play this out because... Yeah, so you're going to Taskmaster the Vision. Not ideal, but whatever. Red Skull gets to come down. Vision can just move out of the way for Arnim Zola. And Arrow... Yeah, the real question was just, is James going to draw Shang-Chi? And James does not. But... Yeah, James can't even, like, snap to bluff it because we're playing for the same amount of cues whether someone retreats or plays out the turn, so... I don't think... Yeah, there's nothing that James can do at this point. Just gonna retreat. I mean, Kawa's not gonna retreat. They're gonna have to play it out, so that is going to be Kawa picking up the set. We are into the placement match for Group C, Kawa versus Salami. It looks like Kawa's going to stick onto the same deck, the Red Skull Arnim Zola. Meanwhile, Salami has switched it up. I do not think we saw Quinjet Moon Girl earlier, so I believe Salami was on... I think Salami was on something similar to what Kawa was. Which means for the group stage, just a lot of Red Skull Arnim Zola coming out of players, but Salami, I don't know if this is just a... Hey, I want to switch decks, or maybe a read that TVA was going to be the first location, or just feeling like this has a good matchup and maybe expecting Kawa not to swap off of the Red Skull deck, but we shall see. I'm assuming that this is just, you know, pretty standard Devil Dinosaur control. Shang-Chi is almost certainly in here. Enchantress, a little bit questionable maybe. Looks like the quality of the stream has gone down a lot, though. I don't know if you guys can actually read what's going on here, but we've got TVA, so the game's going to end after turn 4, Karmatage, so on reveals twice, and Kiln, so you can't play at this location, or after turn 4, which doesn't really matter because the game ends on turn 4, and we're just going to get a retreat out of Kawa, which makes sense. This is not a deck that is well equipped for the TVA location. And that's why we'll see players teching in Scarlet Witch, even in, you know, decks like these. Mindscape. Oh, man. Very impactful locations to start off the series to see who's going to move on to the winner's bracket and who's going to move on to the loser's bracket of Day 3. Both players will be moving on to Day 3, though. Mojo World also not great for Kawa. This is just really, really poor locations for Kawa, I feel. Mostly because if you're trying to just, like, you know, 30 power slam one location with the Shuri Red Skull Arnim Zola, you're not winning Mojo World if your opponent just has more cards there than you. Limbo to give us a turn 7 after we Mindscape swap on turn 6. Okay, Salami on Dr. Doom. So I play a fair amount of Devil Dinosaur myself, and I haven't really felt like I have a 6-drop that fits the slot like I want it to. Which is fine, because in, you know, your sort of ideal games, you're just moon-girling for 2 Devil Dinosaurs. But Dr. Doom, I don't know how I feel about Doom. He feels a little underwhelming. I definitely don't like the decks that are sort of like all in on Dr. Doom, where you're trying to just like Electro into Doom into Odin. I feel like that's just not enough. Okay, yeah, Sauron. I'm actually a little surprised. Well, not really. I was going to say, in a normal game, I think Kawa would play into Mojo World, Red Skull, Arnim Zola out of Mojo World to, like, win Mindscape and Limbo. But because you're swapping hands at the start of turn 6, it's really awkward. But we're still just going to go for Shuri into something. Meanwhile, not a lot of power being put up from Salami. 5, 6, 7 across the board. Mindscape coming online. Oh, Devil Dinosaur off the top for Salami is actually massive because Kawa's about to pass over 5 cards. So this Devil Dino's pretty big. Is it big enough, though? Kawa's gonna get Dr. Doom. Yeah, oh no. And unfortunately, playing the Devil Dinosaur at the same location as the Red Skull, that's gonna be 30 power. That's really a secure onto the Mindscape here for Kawa. And now that we swap hands, like, Arnim Zola's not particularly useful. Arrow off the top could be something, because I feel like it now kind of comes down to Mojo World. And Arrow, while interesting, not the most useful, knowing that you are going up against Dr. Doom. Taskmaster, a great grab, though. But not going on to Mojo. Actually going 0 Ebony Maw on Mojo. Oh, rethinking it. I mean, 0 Ebony Maw on Mojo does sort of secure the location, assuming that you get to arrow into Limbo on the next turn, which I would imagine is the plan. Or arrow into Mindscape, since it's the location that you're losing. Do just want to shout out the cost reduction, rather, that Salami is getting from the Quinjet as well. No, I mean, it is coming in big, right? It allows you to, like, hard secure the Mojo World while playing Taskmaster. Unfortunately, it does also only give you 9 power because of... Yeah, I think... Ooh, see, I'm a little iffy on the arrow into Mindscape, just because knowing that you gave, like, Iceman and Sentinel and Vulture over to Kawa, they're probably at least a little aware of the possibility of an arrow, and could fill up Mindscape before going into Mojo World. Whereas Limbo, I don't think they can really fill Limbo and still play Mojo World. Priority is also on the side of Salami, so Juggernaut would not sort of flip beforehand. Not that I think it particularly matters here, but it's 16 power on the side of Mojo World, which means you need to get... Yeah, I guess the issue here is Kawa actually just can't even win Mojo World. Getting the 4th character in there will get you up to the 100 extra power, but it looks like with 16 power on the side of Salami, it's just not happening. So Kawa, a little bit forked on that one, but the locations have not been kind to Kawa so far in this series. Going into Game 3, hoping for something a little bit better. Grand Central could be good. Could be good. It's certainly not as finicky as TVA or Mindscape, so at least getting a little bit of a stronger start here. Ooh, Vibranium Mines. Nobody loves Vibranium Mines. Hopefully that 3rd location relatively neutral, so we get to keep a bit of a game on our hand here. That's what I'd like to see. Sarah. Not used to seeing Sarah in these lists. I don't think I've ever seen Sarah in these lists, actually. Oh, it was Agent 13, that's why. I need to wake up and see the Agent 13s coming down. Okay, Strange Academy, not bad, right? It still leaves the Arnim Zola plays online because, you're going to have a clear location going into turn 5 no matter what. Salami just continuing to play for the board, play for priority. Going to be winning multiple locations. Or at least tied at 1. If the Sentinel can get over the 0, then we're chilling, but... Moon Girl going to copy Dr. Doom and Sarah. Doesn't feel impactful if we don't have... Oh, and we get a snap from Kawa in the meantime. Who just, has Shuri Red Skull ready to go. Locked and loaded. Meanwhile, Salami, hand too full to actually get the Devil Dinosaur by just 1 card. Looks like we're going to go for the Moon Girl anyway. This is going to stop a draw, if that's how we want to do this. Nope. Yeah, just going to Moon Girl into Grand Central. Here comes Shuri. Priority now back over to Salami. And the Arnim Zola top deck. Oh, this is awkward though. I thought Strange Academy was turn 4. I'm sure that this is as blurry as it is for. I'm sure this is as blurry for you as it is for me. But this does really take away the possibility of, Red Skull Arnim Zola. I thought Strange Academy was after turn 4, but we are past turn 4, and we have not pushed everything to random locations, so I guess not. And that, yeah, debating the vision. If you can't go for the Red Skull Arnim Zola, then it is probably better to just like double up onto this vision and move it somewhere else. Grand Central gonna hit Sauron. Grand Central hitting Arnim Zola actually would have been pretty gas. But, I mean, now you... Yeah, this is the rough part. Like, you can vision over to Strange Academy and you can Arnim Zola the vision, but that doesn't win you Grand Central. And Red Skull doesn't win you Grand Central either. So, we're just going to vision into Vibranium Mines. Oh, this is awkward because there's no hand tracking in Marvel Snap. So, Kawa sort of has to assume that there's a second Devil Dinosaur coming. Oh, but Salami's just going to retreat. I was in the middle of trying to math out what this Devil Dinosaur was going to be at. If the locations were winnable, but Salami going to make it easy on me and just call it a day there. Going into game 4, last one of the 1-cubers. Stark Tower definitely favors Salami, I feel. Especially with this hand where you've got Sentinels thrown out in the early game. I believe this is the first time we've seen Cosmo from Salami, so a little bit of a better opportunity. We saw Goose Cosmo do a lot of work against this deck earlier in the day, but I think it was the combination of Goose and Cosmo that did it. I'm not sure that a Cosmo alone is going to be able to handle it. And again, Arrow, usually such a phenomenal tool at securing the late game, just so awkward against the Taskmaster Arnim Zola fork. Somebody snapped. I don't know who, but somebody did it. Ah. I'm going to guess it was Kawa, given that we saw Throne Room. That seems like something the Red Skull player wants to snap on. If I were a betting man. That's where my money'd be. Looking towards the later turns, though, it's an awkward turn 4 for Kawa. I guess you just kind of juggernaut something. Oh, Sauron, not bad, though. Yeah, that's a pretty timely pickup. Might as well throw it on the Stark Tower. Now I'm going to throw it on the Throne Room, because it looks like the play is to Red Skull Arnim Zola. Or, I mean, even Red Skull into Taskmaster on the Throne Room. It's fine, right? And we're not shuried, which means you actually can contest the 15 power. Arrow might end up getting a lot of value in this game. I'll have to see how it goes. Halal goes off, but armor protecting everybody. Kawa, I would say 100% going to drop the Red Skull this turn. The question is where? Do you play it on Stark Tower? Go for the Arnim Zola line? I think that would work. I think it would work because I think Kawa's going to have priority on 6. You're already winning Halal on Throne Room. If you throw the Red Skull onto Stark Tower, then you should be winning Stark Tower. Okay. With the lineup that Salami currently has, we're going to see a tie on Throne Room. Still going to be winning Halal. Would still be winning Stark Tower because Red Skull is blanked out. So it'd be 17 power Red Skull and then like 15 power on Stark Tower for Salami. Somewhere along those lines. We're actually just going to Red Skull the Throne Room so that we can Taskmaster elsewhere. Which, this is susceptible to Arrow, but if Salami arrows Throne Room. Oh, the Lizard top deck is huge. The Lizard top deck is massive because that actually allows Kawa the opportunity to win Hala while arrowing to Throne Room. Previously, they were going to draw on Hala, but no, that Lizard top deck is absolutely massive. That's so good for Salami. They're going to swing it back, and Kawa has no idea. I'm sure that Kawa's thinking, like, yeah, you know, arrow comes down, everything goes to Throne Room, whatever. I still, like, draw on Hala, and then obviously I win the tiebreaker on Throne Room, but no, this Lizard coming in at 5 power, so good for Salami, and I think this is going to be a 4-cuber. Yeah, Kawa not going to retreat. Makes sense, and that is going to be very timely top deck for Salami, pulling things back here. Taking the lead in the series. Kawa down to 3 cubes now. Salami still at 8. Things looking very good for Salami. Oh, I guess even a 3-power card actually would have won Hala. I forgot about the Lizard passive. So, Lizard, not as impactful as I made it out to be. Salami had that one in the bag anyway. So I've watched, obviously I've watched this entire tournament, right? I've been VOD reviewing it. So I have a really good idea of what I like in the Arnim Zola decks and what I don't, and I've not been impressed by this Juggernaut. Meanwhile, on the side of Salami, I'm actually very impressed at how well Salami's been keeping up with what seems to be just like a very stock build. Ugh. I mean, Altar of Death is cool for both players. But Kawa doesn't really have anything to ramp into at the moment. I think that's why we don't see the Lizard slapped in there. Necrotia and Negative Zone feel like they favor Kawa just because you're going to have fewer cards at each location, one would assume. And Salami going for Sentinel into Armor as opposed to... Oh, actually, ooh, wow. Salami going to 9 mana for turn 5. That would be... It's kind of an awkward breakpoint. Sentinel into Armor puts us at 7, so we can play Devil Dino plus Lizard. And then continue to develop on Altar of Death. Unfortunately, Salami doesn't have the opportunity to Arnim Zola Devil Dinosaur, as cute as that would be. Good Arnim Zola Dr. Doom, though, but with Negative Zone and Necrotia being the locations, I don't think that that really works out. And either way, wouldn't really be able to reliably Arnim Zola just because we already do have a creature at each location. Taskmaster is so awkward. It's only getting... I think it's only copying 8 power, and then like in the Negative Zone, it's going to go down even further. A really awkward hand out of Kawa. It's feeling like a win for Salami. Just the combo not coming together for Kawa this game. But, I mean, Devil Dinosaur barely hanging on to Necrotia by the slimmest of margins. What are we looking at here for Kawa? This could be where Juggernaut finally gets value. But do you have a strong enough follow-up? It would be something like... Oh, man. Lizard onto Necrotia would force a tie if Kawa only plays 1 card. Yeah, it's so dicey for Kawa. There's just a lot, you don't really know how Salami's going to play it. And if you don't retreat now, it's a little bit of a game-losing line, but see how confident they are in their ability to either correctly predict the Juggernaut or find another line. But at the moment, this is feeling like a really big gamble for Kawa, and I'm really not sure what I want them to do. I don't even know what I want Salami to do, if I'm being honest. Lizard Moon Girl seems strong. That's almost certainly going to secure Altar of Death as well as Necrotia. So I like the line from Salami. Gonna undo it, but might end up putting it back. Red Skull into negative zone. Ugh. Yeah, I would assume that, like, you know, you kind of assume that Salami has a way to secure Altar of Death. They only need to swing 6 power. Oh, but they might be forgoing it entirely. Out of time for Salami, locks in the Moon Girl Lizard. And that means that the Red Skull on the negative zone actually is going to secure it. Believe this will be going up to 12 power on the negative zone. It looks like the stream crashed again. A little unfortunate, but... oh yeah. That's a crash. That said, though, now that I'm looking at it, hold up. Let me pause this. Okay, so I'm pretty sure, actually, that this is going to be a win for Salami, because I think what this actually comes out to is Red Skull gets -3, goes to 12. The Red Skull passive goes off because Sauron hasn't been played. So negative zone goes up to 12 again for Salami, so we get a draw at negative zone, and then Moon Girl doubling the hand means that the tiebreaker comes down to Necrotia versus Altar of Death, and, like, Devil Dinosaur is going to blow that out of the water. So... yeah, it looks like this is going to be... oh man, if I'm seeing this right, it's actually a 1 power difference. It's 7 on Necrotia versus... okay, a 2 power difference. So 5 on Altar of Death versus 7 on Necrotia, and then a tie at the negative zone, I believe, is how this plays out. So I think Salami is moving on as first in the group. Okay. Alright, looks like they got into this one really late. Oh man, I hold up. What decks are these guys playing? Looks like Sarah something for paper, and then can't really tell what Felicity's playing. I'm sure we'll find out as the game goes on. I could turn my camera on, I guess, because we don't have the 2-hand setup, but man, was I not prepared to turn my camera on, so just gonna leave that one off. Okay, so this is just like a sort of a bishop deck out of paper. Mysterio seems like such a weird card to me. Like, I never look at Mysterio and I'm like, yeah, you are the best card for this deck. But paper just kind of playing an archetype that I'm wholly unfamiliar with. Felicity, Daredevil. I said it on day one. Daredevil always signals to me Professor X, and then lately more and more has been signaling Galactus. But based on what we saw out of Felicity's board in the previous game, I don't think this is Galactus. But we shall see. Very curious to see what paper's actually running here. Superflow. If this is Galactus, I think Superflow really helps out Felicity. I don't think this is Galactus, though. Well, I guess it could be. Galactus feels like more of a throw-in than a build-around when it comes to these Daredevil decks, at least from where I've been sitting lately. Is this just sort of like a... okay, Mysterio. I mean, Mysterio is awkward because it turns off Superflow, but with Zabu out and the cheap hand coming out of paper, I don't know that they really care. It's really just a question of where are you going to put it. And then Carnage, I guess, is just going to eat one of the dead Mysterios, so to speak. This is not an archetype that I'm familiar with out of paper at all. This is like not something that I've played against before, I don't think. Or if I have, it's only been like once. But again, I didn't come in late. The stream came in late. Don't come for me about it. It just is what it is. And without both hands, it feels awkward to be like halfway through the set and trying to like kind of get my bearings on what decks these players are even going for. And we're out. Oh, okay, we're out because we're going into 2 hands. Okay, so we got... Heimdall is something that I've seen pop up in like 20% of Devil Dinosaur lists, and I get it, right? You just completely disrupt the flow of the game by changing the locations that your opponent thinks they're going to be fighting for. And in a tournament setting where your opponent is information gathering over the course of a game, or over the course of a match, rather, I don't mind it, right? Now suddenly they have to constantly think about, okay, is this going to be a Heimdall on 6, or am I contesting the right locations? It's actually really interesting, and I don't mind it as a tech choice for the tournament play. Although I am still not entirely sure what Paper's deck is supposed to be doing. But they've already picked up quite a few cubes, so I'm excited to find out. Cosmo going to stop the hood. And now that Carnage looking a little awkward here for Paper, kind of locked up. Priority lies with Felicity, so gonna have a great opportunity to get down Professor X. I don't know if you have an assumption about where the real Mysterio is. I think, like, assuming it's at Superflow, I think is reasonable. New York definitely looked like a Carnage location. And Bishop should secure Hellfire Club. So I think it's reasonable that if you want to make the read on, like, hey, where is the Mysterio, that it's going to be at Superflow. So, like, Professor Xing that location, a little dicey, but looks like not really going to matter too much anyway. As I don't think we're getting... Like, if Lizard is going to be the play from Paper, then Felicity's not even looking at the Professor X for that location, at least. Lizard and Enchantress. 9 power coming into backup Superflow. Which means... if you... Yeah, I'm thinking, if you green Goblin Superflow, can you Heimdall everything over to win it? Do you even care enough to Heimdall everything over to win it? Because if you Heimdall, you're giving, like... Yeah, actually, you've got New York on lockdown right now. Of course, you could... Oh, man, it's so weird because New York happens before Heimdall happens, so if you can't really contest New York anymore. And I guess that's kind of the issue with trying to play to fill up Superflow, is your opponent can just Green Goblin over to New York. So it's actually a nothing play. So it's, yeah, I think Professor X has to be the play here, and New York's the only location you want to do that to. Your other option actually would have been Professor Xing Superflow. No, you've got priority, so you can't Professor X into the Enchantress. Right, so Superflow, not actually an option here. Looks like Nova and Shang-Chi to buff up the Bishop. And Felicity does not have priority, so the Shang-Chi's not going to hit anything. Looking to Heimdall. Oh, yeah, this is awkward for Felicity. Heimdalling is only like 12 power onto Superflow? I don't think Felicity has this. I think you needed a bomb. I don't know what bomb Felicity is playing. That remains to be seen. I'm also rather surprised by the existence of this Quake. Wait, what card was Agent 13'd? Did I miss that while they were switching... Was it Cosmo? Oh, why didn't... Where'd the Nova go? Why didn't you Nova? Why did we take back the Nova? That was weird. What is the thought? I can't even suss out the thought process on that one. Magneto's what we needed. Like, Magneto was the bomb that would have secured it, probably even through Nova, but doesn't matter because Paper decided not to play Nova for some reason. Zabu. Very curious to see how this deck plays without the Bishop, because it feels like you're really just like ramping into Bishop, and I have to assume with Killmonger and Carnage that like there's at least is there like a death wave in here? Okay, it wasn't Cosmo that was Agent 13th, was it? Was it Daredevil? I have no idea what was. Man, I'm so lost on that. Okay. Taking stock of the locations. Big House, not good for Felicity. Grand Central, kind of awkward. And then nobody likes Vibranium Mines. Man, I guess you could Lizard Big House, but you are still just kind of losing to Mysterio. Thor, man, this match is just my brain is not clicking with this. Sometimes as a shoutcaster, you get stuck into like matchups that you just don't understand, and I'm like, that's kind of where I'm at right now. I just, it's gonna be a little bit of a struggle. This is gonna be a rough one, folks. I apologize. I'm just so unaware of the overarching game plan of what Paper is doing, and Felicity's hand is so awkward that I'm not really sure what lines they should be taking either, because I don't, especially coming in midway through the match, I'm not sure like what Felicity is aware of in Paper's deck and overarching strategy. What I do know, though, is that we're very unlikely to get Shang-Chi value in this matchup. unless it like hits Thor. Rescue. Okay, Carnage onto Grand Central. Priority currently with Felicity, I believe. Yeah, so if Felicity wants to Professor X Grand Central, that would be kind of rough. But I don't know if you want to do that. Oh man, it would stop the Grand Central from actually going off, but it looks like it's just gonna be Daredevil on Big House. Oh, Daredevil Lizard on Big House. Sorry. Oh. Paper actually denying themselves the Grand Central value. No, they're gonna get it back because they kill Nova here. They also killed the Iceman, so taking control of Grand Central. And then we get, I think that was Heimdall and Rescue. Which means Grand Central solely the property of Paper at this, or solely the property of Felicity at this point, but you do still have to question whether or not the Mysterio was played at that location. I don't think this game is as obvious as to, you know, which location was the Mysterio played at. It looks like we're just going to Magneto Vibranium Mines. But with priority with Felicity, Shang-Chi actually going to get the value here onto Magneto, and this looks like a Paper win. But again, still not fully understanding the game plan of Paper in this particular game. It's really just, okay, I won the Big House. And I don't think I'm deep enough in Marvel Snap to understand which decks are good because they play to such a wide variety of locations. But either way, it's only going to be one cube for Paper at the end of the day. Which means now we're going into Game 5. We're finally playing for the 2 cubes. I do really like the play for 2 cubes mechanic. Sarah. Okay, does Paper have, like... This feels very combo-y, but it doesn't feel like a particularly strong combo. Especially if there's no death as, like, the heavy hitter. Avengers Compound, kind of a neutral location. Cloning Vats. Cloning Vats is pretty good. I gotta look up Quake. Is Quake the one that swaps the locations around when she's in the center? Yes. Okay, if this is in the middle location, swap the position of each location. I know that players like to include something in tournament to sort of get around certain locations, but I'm not necessarily convinced that Quake is better than, like, Scarlet Witch. Oh, somebody snapped. We're just up to 4 cubes. Second Nova and a Carnage. So it's going to be like an 8 power Carnage. Meanwhile, the Shocker from Agent 13 coming down onto the Avengers compound, and we're just going to Quake the middle. This is going to give us a Quake back to hand, move the cloning vats around, and then, yeah, no second Carnage added to hand. I'm not sure that Paper's really at too much of a loss for that, though. Maybe because we didn't get the second Nova back, it's a little bit more of an issue. But Rescue going to come down onto cloning vats now, probably going to be followed up by Sarah, but I mean, what, you get a Sarah for 2 cards next turn? Or on turn 6, rather? Bishop sets you up to Sarah at Avengers Compound, and then you get 2 bishops to pop off a little bit harder, but at the end of the day, unless you draw another 3-drop, Paper's still only looking at 2 cards played on turn 6. Professor X and Arrow not getting a whole lot of value since Avengers Compound is still popping off. But at the end of the day, Arrow is still just 7 power, and it looks like that's what is going to be the priority on the side of Felicity. So we're actually tied up at the Avengers Compound. Shocker now just down to 0 power on the side of Jotunheim. If you Magneto Jotunheim, you're only pulling in bishops and Killmonger. Felicity does flip second here. Heimdall doesn't really feel like an option. It's just such a weak board state for Felicity up until this point. At present, though... Ugh. Man, you can't win cloning vats. Shang-Chi just isn't going to do anything. Yeah, this hand is so awkward for Felicity. I think Paper's going to end up taking this. While the entire time I still don't feel like their deck is doing anything particularly strong. Killmonger here secures Avengers Compound, so you don't actually have to Mysterio Center if you don't want to. Unless you still feel like that's something that you need to fight over. It looks like, thinking about Magneto onto Jotunheim, reconsidering into Heimdall and cloning vats. And I don't think Heimdall's going to win cloning vats given the double bishop. Yeah, they were playing for 5 cubes, and Paper is just going to take this one. So Paper's going to be moving on to the finals of the group at least. And hopefully doesn't switch decks so I can see a little bit more of this one and get a better understanding of sort of what I'm looking at here. All right, for some reason I thought that was match 2 of Group D. That was only match 1, so now we get J-Hubs versus Abraxas. Looks like we've got Darkhawk on the side of Abraxas. I say it looks like there's not a Rock Slide and a Darkhawk in it. Obviously it's Darkhawk. And then J-Hubs, not totally sure. Dr. Doom isn't super indicative of anything. Ooh. I don't think, yeah, I think both players are pretty fine to just take the pass here. Oh, it looks like Ronin. I've not seen too many Ronin decks. This is a card I'm rather unfamiliar with. But... okay, yeah, Black Widow makes sense to me if you're going to be playing a Ronin deck. A rather expensive hand on the side of J-Hubs, though. I'm curious to see what the rest of this list looks like. Oh, Black Widow for Abraxas as well. Better variant, though. I guess J-Hubs doesn't have a... is that Hugs or Hubs? Looks like a B thanks to the pixelation, but it might just be G. We're going to go Hugs. So J Hugs, if your name is J Hubs, I apologize, but for this, you are J Hugs. Looks like both players just kind of really getting what they want. We're already on to turn 5, and not a lot of power on board on either side. Feels like players a lot of the time are using Darkhawk to secure these sort of not late game locations. What's the word I'm looking for here? They're looking to play Darkhawk as the last card at a location so that they don't get Shang-Chi'd. Probably the best way to put that. But I feel like it takes like if you Darkhawk onto the vault, how do you win in a different location? Like, what's your... Yeah, so now that you're all in on the vault... Oh, maybe you just... maybe you just win Shadowland with Shang-Chi. It wouldn't be the first time we saw it. But, unfortunately, I think Dr. Doom is going to secure this if the line is, like, Shang-Chi plus Wave. And we've already snapped, so we're playing for 4 cubes if we play this one out. Captain Marvel. I mean, yeah, Captain Marvel does it too. At the end of the day, like, Abraxas just doesn't have a good way to contest Collapsed Mine. And Shadowland, you can Shang-Chi there, but either Doctor Doom or Captain Marvel steals it back from you because you just don't have a strong enough 3-power card to play alongside it. And because you've all in on the vault, you don't have a Valkyrie location. Would it have worked out if you went Korg Valkyrie on Shadowland? Ooh, actually, does it? Yeah. Okay, I guess that actually works because, I don't know why I thought that, yeah, so Captain Marvel's actually not going to move there because it'll draw, and then the vault is the tiebreaker. Did I just math that out super wrong? Probably. I'm not a doctor. Well, I am a... yeah. I don't know how I got that so wrong. Marvel Snap requires you to do so much math, man. I barely have the time to do the math while I'm playing it, but man, that was rough on my end. I think I just forgot to count the ninja for J-Hugs, is what it was. For some reason. I forgot to calculate in the -2 on J-Hugs' side, but I counted it in on Abraxas' side. Is that, I think, where I got caught up there? Sandman. Oof. Sandman... I don't think is going to do it, given the Mystique Rock Slide combo coming in. It will stem the bleeding in the sense that you're not going to get, you know, Rock Slide She-Hulked on 6, but you are probably still just going to get Rock Slided. And now, yeah, all it takes is a Rock Slide. I don't even think it really matters which location you... Well, it does matter. Because if you Rock Slide Ruins here, then you draw Ruins. Oh, reinforcing the already strong location, I think, is going to be a game loss for Abraxas. Oh, that was turn 5? Oh, we're at Elysium. Oh, okay. I thought that was... I missed the Elysium somehow, and I thought that was turn 6, so... Yeah, okay, no, this is totally fine. Rock Slide to back up the strong location. No Shang-Chi for J-Hugs. Onslaught onto the Elysium. Looking like a game secured here. Man, I've been rough this last match. This one looks like it's going quick, though. It looks like the players are willing to play this one out to fruition. In which case, you know, J-Hug's going to lose another 4 cubes here. It was close, though. You know, sort of barely got there. Only 27 on the Elysium, but yeah, I mean, this is... Man, this one is flying by. Abraxas just, like, playing pretty straightforward Darkhawk. Boulevard absolutely fumbling every word that's come out of their mouth so far this game. And... Oh, man, the Ronin just... Like, the Maximus is not doing what it's supposed to do unless you get down the Sandman. You just, like, Abraxas being able to play Zabu just means that a lot of their cards are coming down in a very timely fashion. And yeah, here's going to come the Zabu again. The good news is that, like, Goose is not a very effective control tool in a matchup like this because Dr. Doom and Captain Marvel are sort of circumnavigating the location lockdowns. Atlantis... Fisk Tower. I think this might actually be one of the first games where neither player is playing Arrow. So this Fisk Tower, not going to be able to get any like cheeky Arrow or Polaris plays or anything like that. I don't think there's a Magneto out of anyone either, so like just no movement in general. Oof. Abraxas really, really needs Darkhawk. Really needs a lot of things, actually. This is such a bad hand for Abraxas. This might be J-Hugs finally picking up a win. But if they want to get power on board, they have to play Maximus. And yeah, just not going to commit to it. This is the lowest power game I think we've ever seen by turn 4 here. And Goose actually now winning the location. Wave doesn't help because you don't have any 4-drops to, like, throw down. Oh, man. Yeah, and you can't really wave the Goose location because that actually weakens you. This is such an ugly game of Marvel Snap, man. It's probably the best way to describe this. Oh, why are we weakening the Goose location? We turn it into a draw instead of a win? America Chavez comes in for J-Hugs. Rock Slide. This is rough, man. You're already losing Vibranium Mines because of Mr. Fantastic. You've essentially Sandmaned yourself on turn 7, or on turn 6 here. Yeah, the retreat from Abraxas seems reasonable. It seemed like pretty weak hands on the side of both players, but like J-Hugs does have the better top end here with Captain Marvel and Doctor Doom. Abraxas just not finding the Darkhawk, making the Mystique even more awkward, sort of goosing a location that had already been bought up. Hell's Kitchen gonna give an Iceman and a Korg. Still an awkward hand from Abraxas, though. I mean, we've got the bombs this time in, like, She-Hulk Onslaught. Also, I forgot, I was trying to look up Valkyrie because this is a card that has popped up a few times over the tournament, but I don't think anyone's actually, like, put it into play. So I'm still... Set all cards at this location to 3 power. I don't know how layering works in Marvel Snap. I don't know if that's going to overwrite their ongoing abilities. I assume it's not. I assume the reason you play it in this deck is because it does not overwrite your ongoing abilities. And, like, you know, Darkhawk and Mystique will go to, like, 3 power and then still just, you know, shoot back up. But I guess when you're playing against a Ronin deck, you know, Valkyrieing the Ronin location is a little bit hard. But not just that, but J-Hugs tends to be going a little bit wider than Abraxas does on certain locations, so you're just kind of losing out on Valkyrie there. But also this Valkyrie just keeps getting Iceman, so, you know, who cares? But we finally get Darkhawk down. We don't have Mystique. J-Hugs, yeah, sort of just like forced... I mean, it's Sandman or it's Lizard. And it's looking like Sandman into Ronin into Doctor Doom. So... Daily Bugle solidly in control of Abraxas, but I think Ronin can swap that back. Looking at a potential wave to win Big House. But unfortunately, Doctor Doom doesn't care. And this is looking like a J-Hugs win. Ooh, actually, Onslaught. Onslaught would tie Big House, win Daily Bugle, but does it win it by enough? Hell's Kitchen's going to go to 11, so that's a 7 power swing for J-Hugs. Tie on Big House. Darkhawk currently at only 3 cards in deck. Doesn't sound right. Should be 4. I don't know. 3 cards in deck, so only another +6. I mean, you're only playing for 2 cubes either way, so it looks like Abraxas is going to play it out. I don't think Onslaught wins the tiebreaker at Daily Bugle, though, is sort of how I'm mathing these things out. 16. Yeah, I think you only win by, like, 2. Oh, you don't even win at all. I forgot about the Doombot coming in. So, yeah, would not have been enough either way. And now, gaining a little bit more ground is J-Hugs. It's kind of weird. Almost looks like Abraxas didn't lose cubes on that. That's kind of weird. Anyway, Savage Land kicks things off. I hate Savage Land. Boulevard hates locations that fill things for me. The mine I don't care as much about. But are these players going to pass, or are they going to develop? It's looking like Abraxas is valuing getting down the Zabu anyway. And we can take a pass later on to get rid of Collapsed Mine to go into a She-Hulk turn. Or we could leave J-Hugs continuously wondering, when are we going to play? Or when are we going to take our pass turn? And then it just never comes. But with Crimson Cosmos being the 3rd location, so Darkhawk cannot be played there, and a discounted She-Hulk probably also unlikely to be played there, I think Abraxas does have to take the pass now at some point. And if you pass now, like, if you don't pass now, yeah, you have to pass, because you can't, like, if you don't pass now, you just, like, play a card at Savage Land, and then next turn, I guess you could Rock Slide Crimson Cosmos. Which we're going to do anyway. But our turn 5 is just looking like Darkhawk Goose regardless. But if J-Hugs throws down Sandman, I think J-Hugs just kind of debating between Sandman and Lizard Black Widow, but Sandman's been working out really well for J-Hugs. I like to see the Sandman here. Darkhawk just does not feel like it's ever bigger than Ronin, but is this not just a Darkhawk Onslaught angle? I can't imagine Abraxas wins the game if they do anything other than Darkhawk Onslaught a location, and it's got to be at the Collapsed Mine, because you kind of need them both on the same location, because that's how Onslaught works. And with J-Hugs going for Ronin on Savage Land, yeah, this is, I guess if you can't even top deck Dr. Doom if you're J-Hugs because of America Chavez, so even debating just She-Hulking. Oh, that's true, yeah, you do still need to defend Crimson Cosmos. Oh, man. And you know your opponent has America Chavez. Okay, take back everything that I had set up until this point. I kind of forgot that we had a strong option here for Crimson Cosmos because of the America Chavez coming in. And the hand of J-Hugs up until this point was unplayable into Crimson Cosmos. Korg does buff up Darkhawk by 2. Which means America Chavez would not win Collapsed Mine. The problem is that if you Korg Crimson Cosmos, this really is just a 50-50. Do they play on the same location or do they not? If they do, goes to Abraxas. If they don't, goes to J-Hugs. They do, goes to Abraxas. And that's just how Snap games go sometimes. It's just the 50-50. All right, we are into the winner's match of Group D. It's going to be Paper versus Abraxas? Yes, okay. I was like, didn't we just play this one? No, that was J-Hugs versus Abraxas. So, okay, yeah, I got really locked up on that one. It looks like we have a deck change from, at the very least, Abraxas. And Paper as well, yeah, because Paper was playing like a Bishop deck earlier, and looks like they have transitioned into Darkhawk, whereas Abraxas has moved off of Darkhawk into Destroyer. So a complete shift around here. And Paper still rocking the Scarlet Witch that we've seen out of a couple of players to just sort of stop the location favor that can come in for certain players. Just certainly don't mind. But deciding that Mojo World or Sakar, really none of these are things that are worth Scarlet Witching. Things could be worse, so we will just not Scarlet Witch. Bucky Barnes onto the Daredevil location. And the Hood over onto Mojo World. I'm not sure what's in Abraxas's deck. I mean, I can guess Professor X. Right? Not just because of Daredevil, but also because of Destroyer. I'm a little confused about the Bucky Barnes. Unless the Bucky Barnes is like just to get hit by Destroyer. I don't know if Abraxas would be running Carnage. She-Hulk onto center, Demon onto left. So more islands swung back into the favor of Paper. Now we get the Daredevil turn, and it looks like it might just be Sunspot. Scarlet Witch hovered, but it might just be Sunspot onto more island to take that one back. The good news for Paper here is that if you just Sunspot more island, all of your locations are safe from Professor X, which is really the sort of scariest thing, I think, to come out of a Daredevil turn with only 5 mana. So yeah, Sunspot, I like this play a lot. This really just kind of secures you against the Professor X. In a sense, right? Because like this, you would still have to pass a little bit of mana to re-win more island under Professor X. So we're just going to go Mojo World for Abraxas, which... Okay, we've got Darkhawk, we've got Shang-Chi. We can't sort of retake Mojo World. Oh man, Shang-Chi plus armor coming down onto the Atimu location. Gonna take out She-Hulk. Priority currently lies with Paper, but I don't think it matters. I mean, at the very least, you're gonna win Sakar, but you didn't back up more island. Your Onslaught Citadel is actually quite weak. Yeah. So, I mean, Abraxas had the play to retake the center, but probably should have just realized that, like, Onslaught Citadel was very contestable. Even as Mojo World, right? I mean, the Darkhawk top deck, pretty timely, but at the end of the day, like, you only have 3 power at that location. Probably should have been a retreat out of Abraxas rather than taking the full 2-cube loss. But I'm not really sure how much a 1-cube versus a 2-cube loss really matters in tournament play. This is one of those things I'm just going to have to sort of watch more events to find out how I feel about it, but I feel like Abraxas should have known that that was kind of a lost cause. Throne Room, I would say favors Abraxas if we do get a Destroyer game, but Sakar yet again going to Scarlet Witch itself into Isle of Silence. So the Atimu, not an ongoing ability. And now you actually can't. Oh man, you can't even armor the Atimu because it's Isle of Silence. This is awkward for Abraxas, but I mean, it kind of takes away a destroyer play down the line, so Throne Room suddenly like not really as good for you. We're gonna get the Daredevil now. But again, kind of a weak hand out of paper as well. Green Goblin. Okay, just gonna Green Goblin the Isle of Silence. Quinjet forced onto Throne Room because of Crimson Cosmos or Isles. Man, these games like this where the locations get really funky. So weird. And I feel like this secures the Isle of Silence win for Abraxas. I do not think there is actually, outside of She-Hulk. Yeah, it would take a She-Hulk on Isle of Silence to swing this back for paper, which would probably be at least a little telegraphed. Or Shang-Chi, actually. I lied. Shang-Chi will do it as well, so... Oh, man. Wake up, Boulevard. Wake up. Is this just gonna be like... are the best lines for paper just going to be... like Shang-Chi, Crimson Cosmos, Shang-Chi, Isle of Silence? At the very least... we're going to be able to protect one of them thanks to the Professor X top deck. Well, we're not going to be able to protect a Timu because Professor X cannot go onto Isle of Silence, so... yeah, suddenly... well, actually, no. Things are actually looking really good for Abraxas. Not if they have priority, though. Because what Abraxas wants to do is Professor X Crimson Cosmos and then Destroyer Throne Room. And if paper doesn't Shang-Chi Atuma. There's no I in there? Sure. If paper doesn't Shang-Chi Atuma, then they're going to have Abraxas is going to have priority, and paper can Shang-Chi Throne Room to kill Destroyer. But if that happens, then paper is not actually contesting Isle of Silence. So at the moment, it is feeling like a win for Abraxas, I think. Yes, because now... ooh. Hold on, Sunspot's at 9 power. Which means if paper just passes, Sunspot actually contests Destroyer on Throne Room. Power does not get doubled. And so Throne Room would be a win for paper? But you still have to win Isle of Silence. So yeah, still looking good for Abraxas. Because the Isle of Silence is secured, and like paper cannot swing both locations. And because Abraxas has a win on Throne Room with Destroyer and Crimson Cosmos secured, pretty sure this is just a win for Abraxas. I'd like to see a snap. Oh, we're actually just gonna Shang-Chi. Did Abraxas pass? Or was that a timeout? That had to be a timeout. Oh, man. So, I think Abraxas... like, if you're Abraxas, I think you just slam Destroyer onto Throne Room. Oh, I guess the problem is that if you... if paper has the read that you're going to Destroyer Throne Room, they can just Shang-Chi Atuma, or they can just Shang-Chi Throne Room, and then Destroyer will wipe Atuma. I think that's what I was forgetting, was that Destroyer would wipe Atuma. Who's Atuma? Why do I not know card names? Atuma. Ebony Maw. Oh, man. I knew my first VOD view was going to be, like, kind of rough, but I feel like I'm doing worse today than I did yesterday. Maybe it's because I'm doing it earlier in the morning. Maybe I should wait until later in the day to do these, but... TVA definitely feels like it's Abraxas favored, given that they have Warpath and Demon. But Paper has the ability to just Scarlet Witch the TVA if they really want to. Big house. Thor can contest. Oof. Okay, so Thor going at Throne Room. Warpath borderline secures Throne Room. Yeah, Warpath kind of secures Throne Room unless Paper goes for a pass here, which I don't think they can really afford to do, and then like go into She-Hulk on the next turn. And somebody already snapped, so these players are playing for 2 cubes. Looks like we've locked in Green Goblin on TVA. Luckily, Paper has the out of just Scarlet Witching TVA. So if this turn ends and they feel like they might not be able to do it, then they've got the option to just eliminate TVA. Which Mjolnir top deck, I think, is the one thing that could convince Paper to leave TVA around. Because I'm not sure that Abraxas' deck is capable of winning back 2 locations. Especially because I think the surprise factor of the immediate Mjolnir top deck secures Big House. You're not going to have a lot of power at TVA, but I think that Abraxas has to play for Throne Room, so this actually could just be like a 4-cube swing back onto Abraxas, and Paper taking a very hearty lead here. I really like this line from Paper. If you're Abraxas, yeah, like if you're Abraxas, it's really awkward because you seem like you're in an okay position unless they top deck Mjolnir. But Abraxas, has the heads up surrender. Feels like a weird word to say. Attillion. I hate Attillion. I'm going to say that every single time it comes up. I hate Attillion so much. Boulevard does not like playing the game until turn 3. That's when I want to start putting cards on the table. Not turn 1. I don't want to play 1-drops. I hate 1-drops, man. That carries over into MARVELSNAP as well. Nobody's safe. Every 1-drop. Well, actually, I kind of like Hood, but... Project Pegasus. We've got... Oh, man. It's so tempting to just slam down the Professor X somewhere, but... your opponent's also got 8 mana. Where do you think they are going to throw their stuff down? You could also Attuma Warpath. But that's a little risky because you know that your opponent runs Shang-Chi and you're really kind of telegraphing that you're not going to play for a certain location this early on. Professor X, I think, loses out on this one. I don't remember what was put there. Oh, Rock Slide. Okay, yeah. Abraxas might need to just pick this one up. Well, we didn't draw any... Ugh. Warpath is basically useless. Hobgoblin's not bad. But I'm not sure that you are ever beating a Darkhawk when you have not only have you already been hit with a Rock Slide, but Attillion actually, I believe, does inflate your deck count at endgame. Destroyer might be enough, though. Destroyer, like, when you've got Attuma armor on one location and then, like, Hobgoblin going in as well, and then Destroyer onto Attillion, maybe. But it looks like we're going to have enough mana to, like, Darkhawk plus She-Hulk. So, yeah, I was going to say, if Attillion just all-ins, or if Paper just all-ins on Attillion, and they know that they don't have to worry about Shang-Chi, I don't even think Abraxas is running Shang-Chi, then Destroyer is just not enough. And I think this is where Abraxas starts to get really nervous. Yeah, because there was a pass on 5, you've got to read that a She-Hulk is coming down, and probably something else because you're kind of telegraphing Destroyer here. So Abraxas down to 2 cubes. We're playing for 2 cubes from this point onward. I believe this is going to be game 5, yeah. So match point for Paper. who has not dropped a game yet, +5 energy this turn. Are you going to... do you want to run the risk of the Professor X? You've got a decent chance at just locking down and securing a location, but instead, you know, got bit by it last time, so I don't blame them for not going for it. Instead, Project Pegasus nearly full already, but only 2 power put on the board for Abraxas. Not even enough to win this early location. Ooh, Clintar, I would say, is pretty awkward for Abraxas. You know, maybe Warpath doesn't mind going there, but it's not a place you can Cosmo. So it's probably just going to be Cosmo into Monster Metropolis. But if you do that, you're turning off your potential Warpath onto Clintar, but Cosmoing Project Pegasus doesn't feel valuable because your opponent's only got 1 spot left there. Yeah, things are looking a little awkward for Abraxas here. I think they can still pull it out. It's just a matter of how much do you actually value this Warpath? Are you even playing this Warpath in the future? Because I think that Atuma in Clintar is perfectly fine. You're probably going to Professor X on 5. And then, you know, do you really... Like, your turn 6 could change. Do you really care about the Warpath that much? See, and I feel like I'd actually almost... Well, I guess... Yeah, Atuma makes more sense because I'm like, yeah, you know, one of these gets turned into a symbiote. Do you really care which one? And I think the answer is yes. You very much care that it's Atuma so that you can still Warpath center. Whereas normally you would not be able to, like, Atuma center if Warpath goes for it. So, Moon Girl's going to get double Mjolnir on top of Scarlet Witch. I don't think the Scarlet Witch matters, but double Shang-Chi certainly does. Shang-Chi double Mjolnir? She-Hulk? Yeah, this is feeling like a clean sweep from paper. That said, Abraxas does have priority. So even if, you know, like Shang-Chi comes down onto Clintar, Professor X can secure the location. But then it's really just Destroyer at Project Pegasus at that point, which, honestly, not a bad line of play. Maybe Abraxas does have this. What Mjolnir... Oh, but Mjolnir gets Thor to 16 power? If paper expects Professor X into Destroyer, I think She-Hulk on Project Pegasus is the line. But if you She-Hulk Project Pegasus, then Abraxas probably just Destroyer's Monster Metropolis. And that would leave paper with priority, so they wouldn't actually be able to Shang-Chi. Yeah, okay. So now once again, just kind of comes down to a 50-50. Where do you expect the Destroyer to go? Because I think that Abraxas throwing Destroyer on a Monster Metropolis is actually kind of reasonable. But I think you actually... Yeah, okay, I was going to say, I think paper has an answer. If you just She-Hulk Project Pegasus and then Shang-Chi Monster Metropolis, that should secure it. Because we're about to go to, like, 25 power on Project Pegasus. Yeah, okay, this feels like a win for paper. I think they found the lines that secure everything. The double Mjolnir is so backbreaking here. Really, really well played from paper. Assuming this is how everything locks in, I don't imagine... Like, there's no retreat happening, right? Because Abraxas is on 2 cubes anyway. That's what we're playing for. So yeah, I gotta say, very impressed by Paper's play. Very excited to see what comes in day 3 as Paper goes into the winner bracket. But I don't know, it's anybody's game. There have been a lot of streamers, like I said, I haven't really heard of any of these streamers before, but some of them, I'm trying to remember. I'll actually have to go back and check which ones, but I think I've been calling out every time I'm like pretty impressed by one of their play. So very excited to see who I'm actually rooting for come Sunday, but that is going to be Paper moving on to the winners finals and Abraxas moving on to the losers finals come day 3. Thank you guys for watching, and again, I will be back with the day 3 VOD review as well. Sorry, this one was kind of rough. I guess I just did it a little too early in the morning.